It's often called the land of the long white cloud, but for golfers, New Zealand has a much better nickname. Welcome then to the land of the great golfing getaway. So I got this itinerary, right, for this trip to New Zealand, and it was so good, it was so fantastic, I couldn't even show my wife. That's how good it was. But I did show my brothers. Stunning. You think this is good, you wait till you see the golf courses. Sometimes hard to admit, but the Kiwis are world-class at most things. And they've got the golf trip right by introducing a bunch of customised golf trails. One of the best, with great golf and epic scenery, is around Taupo and Napier on the North Island. 3 championship courses to challenge you in one long weekend. Now, for the karma of our golfing trip, for the weather gods, for the putting, for the chippy yippy, for all of it, I release you and thank you. The logical place to start felt like number 1, and that's where Kinloch was recently rated in the list of New Zealand's golf courses. Impressive for a course opened in 2008, but then it is the only Jack Nicklaus design in New Zealand on a superb stretch of volcanic land.
It's got snippets of links course, parkland courses all rolled into one, so I describe it like as a hybrid golf course. It's certainly not a golf course that you can overpower with distance. You've got to think about every shot. Jack Nicklaus, obviously there's an argument to say that he's probably the best strategic thinker of all time, and you can see when you come and play Kinloch that he has thought about the layout of every hole, and you just have to concentrate on every single shot, and you should be mentally exhausted when you come off of Kinloch, I'd say. If you're not, you're going to have some big numbers on your scorecard.
Kinloch was designed to challenge, and if it wasn't obvious on the first, it'll smack you on the second. It's a testing par 5, regardless which of the tee boxes you're hitting from. Most tee shots work their way to the left side of the fairway, leaving an intimidating second. From there, it's all about alignment and precision to an elevated green. Local advice says take 1 extra club, it's a long green, and short is not much fun.
The 3rd hole here is a par 3. It's a beautiful par 3. You've got Lake Taupo in the background, and you're hitting into a green that's quite shallow front to back, but you've obviously got a lake in front of the green itself. It's an elevated tee, often plays into the wind, and your mind is always, it's always controlled a little bit by not wanting to drop it short into the drink. It's pretty tough to be the first par 3 on the golf course that you face, but yeah, visually it's just a fantastic hole.
The 4th is a classic risk-reward moment. It's downhill, and a solid 3-wood will put you on a flat launching pad for your second shot. Long and left is the answer, short and right, you're dead. Shorter does not mean easier, particularly on the 5th. It's all about the tee shot, which requires your full attention. Many a player has come to grief down the left side of this 5th fairway. The approach shot to this fabulously undulating green might keep you awake at night too.
6th hole here at Kinloch tends to be a bit of a nemesis for quite a few people. They come off the golf course and, after they've played it a few times, they start to sort of respect the hole and play it the way it was designed. It's a golf hole that really, the play is to kind of hit it about 220 metres off the tee and then open up the hole and leave yourself a nice approach shot down to the green. I would say there's probably more 5s than birdies on that hole. If somebody offered you a 4, you'd probably say thanks very much and walk to the next.
The trick to 11 is blocking the bunkers out of your mind when standing on the tee, and that is near impossible. Aiming for the middle of the green is the place to start. That should keep you off the beach for a while.
The 15th hole, amazing par 3. Plays 225 yards off the tournament tee. If you miss the green left, the chances of getting up and down and making your par are pretty slim. But it's a fantastic hole. It normally plays into a southerly. And from the tee, the green looks like the size of your face, so it's pretty intimidating hole. But if you walk off with a 3, it's a tremendous score on that hole, really. There aren't too many 2s.
Kinloch is a challenge, particularly around the greens. They're massive undulations, and the story behind that is that Jack had just found out from his friends that someone had shot a 62 at one of his signature courses, and he's very agitated because they stirred him up about it. So he said, no one will shoot a 62 at my next signature course, which just happens to be Kinloch. Another great feature of New Zealand golf is that accommodation is usually available either on the course or close nearby. At Kinloch, Dunalister House is an award-winning luxury property overlooking the course. You can rent it all year round. The beautifully updated Hilton Lake Taupo is a short drive from the charming Taupo town centre, and it offers self-contained apartments and guest rooms with sweeping vistas of Lake Taupo. Kinloch is a magnificent monster, and a mere 20-minute drive away is Wairakei. Known as the grandfather of New Zealand's best golf, it is stunning. A true beauty where golf and the natural habitat work in harmony through a wildlife sanctuary. It's the brainchild of owner Gary Lane.
The tui, which is the emblem we've got on here, and you'll see them around, the native bird, only 5% of the eggs that are laid will even hatch into chicks. And he decided on his golf course he'd like the native birds to survive and come through like they are. We've had 4.5 years now with the predator fence around, and every year the population of birds is coming up, and it actually spills out into the surrounding area as well, so it's been a real success story for us.
Wairakei was originally laid out by Englishman John Harris, but in the 70s he called in Australians Mike Woolridge and Peter Thompson to help create New Zealand's first championship course. Skirting the edges of active geothermal fields and sprawling over 180 hectares, the layout is a testing yet beautiful challenge for all to enjoy.
The fourth hole's made some changes lately. About 1.5 years we put some water in. For the longer hitters, the stream's in play off the tee. But for everybody, it's in play for their second shots, especially if the pin's on the right of the green. You don't want to be big because the green drops off at the back and gives you an awkward chip. And obviously if you're short, you can be wet, which is not ideal.
The par 3 fifth is a tough hole that plays 165 metres slightly uphill to a wide, narrow green. Deep pot bunkers guard the front edge, so if you're gonna miss, make it long. The elevated tee on 6 is a spectacular platform to view much of the course. And then your eyes settle on the 6th hole itself, a majestic downhill par 4 with split fairway requiring a strong drive to reach that lower part of the cut stuff. From there, a chance to attack the well-guarded green.
The 8th hole, right here behind us. Probably the trickiest part of the 8th is the tee shot. All the fairway drifts to the right, or all slopes to the right, so the balls can kick into the water. But there is a large flat landing area. If you can get the ball up into the right landing area, you're left with maybe 110, 120 metres into a fairly receptive green.
This hole's called Farmer's Folly, and the area between the green and the fairway was just like this grassy hollow like that. The owner's playing with his mate, surnamed Farmer, and he said, wouldn't it be great if there was water there? And Farmer says to him, you should do it. In fact, you do it and send me the bill and I'll pay for it. And he did, and it's perfect. The 11th is one of several great short par 4s at Wairakei. A layup is often required from the tee as a stream meanders in front of the green. But even with a short iron, the approach shot is tricky as the green is elevated and falls off on 3 sides. Anything short will catch that large, deep bunker in front.
14th is one of the iconic holes in New Zealand. It's a long par 5, tree-lined on both sides. About 2/3 of the way down the hole is a large pine tree in the middle of the hole, which interferes with the second shot. There's a large horseshoe green, which is raised about 40 metres off the fairway. Well bunkered, be below the hole, going up to it. Anything coming down at the pin can run off the green and make 3 putts quite common.
The 15th is the last and possibly the toughest of Wairakei's testing par 3s. At just over 190 metres, it's downhill, the green's big, and you'll often have the wind at your back. But beware any right-sided pin. It sets up for a fast, sloping putt. Wairakei Golf Course is gobsmackingly beautiful. In fact, I think it's the most beautiful golf course I've ever played. Where it sits in New Zealand golf, well, it's sort of the spiritual homeland. There are newer courses, maybe better golf courses, but this one, if you wanted a spiritual New Zealand golfing experience, this is where you'll play. New Zealand is actually code for fly fishing. So you could just leave Taupo with a head full of golfing memories, but that would be denying yourself a world-class experience. Chris Jolly Outdoors specialise in the right guide for the right golfer. And if they could put me onto a quality rainbow, they could manage it for just about anyone. 2 splendid hours of it was this big in the car, and you're in Hawke's Bay. This is New Zealand's food bowl and home to some of the best wineries in the country. What is it that makes the wine so unique?
Well, Hawke's Bay has a very broad climate, but the wines that we've got here are from the Kinloch Gravels region, so that's a particularly unique soil type. This is a very small area of soil that's very stony. It's a young riverbed, so 1860s there was a flood that changed the course, and it's left a very unique soil type that is fantastic for Chardonnay, for Syrah particularly, and also for the Cabernet Merlot family.
And it's here, about a 25-minute drive from Napier, you'll find Cape Kidnappers, a Tom Doak designed course recently ranked 22 in the world by prestigious US magazine Golf Digest. This is fantasy golf at its best, completely braggalicious. The praise for Cape Kidnappers has been plentiful and universal, but perhaps Doak himself summed it up best, describing the site as unlike anywhere else in golf. Perched on cliffs 140 metres above sea level, with Hawke's Bay down below, golfers have raved about the course ever since it opened in 2004.
Depending on the wind and the day, you may have 2 different courses where you have to play shots low and run them up, or you play them very high and let them settle on the greens. It just all depends on the wind and the day. The other golfing challenge at Cape Kidnappers is keeping your eye on the golf. With such beautiful scenery around the course, it's really difficult sometimes just to focus on the golf and let everything else be.
Described as the epitome of a golf hole in New Zealand, the second is a strategic par 5 that can be reached into by the longer hitters. The green is framed by red wool sheds, a reminder you're playing golf on a working sheep station. Things get pretty intense on the 6th, and it's the first sniff of the cliff-hanging holes to come on the back 9. Ovines taunt from above as you consider your options, which are really only long and right. Short and left is where the hole found its name, and no one wants to be in the gully. No let up on the next either, where accuracy is key. The 7th hole is a unique par 4 where the tee shot is to a saddle between 2 ridgelines. Once safely on the fairway, golfers face a green with a false front, protected by bunkers short and left. To the right, a steep drop-off.
The back 9 at Cape Kidnappers is definitely one of the best stretches in golf. As you're heading out to the Pacific Ocean, you get some of the most dramatic views on the course. You're right cliffside, so everything you see is right out to the Pacific. And as you make the turn to holes 13 and 14, you really do get some of the best stretches in golf.
And that challenge begins on the 12th. The widest driving hole at Cape Kidnappers, which leads to one of the most intimidating approach shots in the world of golf. From the fairway, golfers are left with a second shot to a green seemingly hanging off the edge of the planet, with nothing to stop the ball from plummeting into Hawke's Bay below. The 14th is the shortest par 4 on the course, but quite possibly the hardest of them all. You pick a safe line from the tee and then aim 10 metres to the left of it. Any hint of a fade will not carry the fairway. The green has a deep pot bunker front and left and a steep drop-off at the back. The 594-metre 15th proves that staying in the short grass on a long par 5 is crucial, especially when there's a 140-metre cliff on the left and a 20-metre drop-off on the right. If you suffer even the slightest vertigo, stay away from the left edge. The tee on the par 4 16th is guarded by seagulls and is the only place on the course with a view of the Black Reef. If you're not a candidate to reach the green in 2, it's much better to lay back to the widest part of the fairway from the tee. Stay right with your second and you'll get a stunning view of the green. So that there is Cape Kidnappers, and as you can see, it's beautiful. Like, the whole thing is beautiful. The experience is beautiful, and you think you know a place, and I reckon New Zealand will surprise you. Like, they yearn to come to Australia and play golf. I think you should think about yearning to come here, because this is, it's almost religious. It's amazing. In all honesty, Cape Kidnappers is so good It's so special that to play one round would be to deny yourself in the worst possible way. Stay the night, play again. Accommodation at the farm at Cape Kidnappers offers 180-degree views of the Pacific and looks out over the course. Best of all, it's on site. The new Qantas Golf Club, created exclusively for Qantas frequent flyers, is the place to find your perfect golf travel package to New Zealand. Choose from a range of destinations around New Zealand, including Taupo, Queenstown and Christchurch. With 2 levels of membership, free or premium, you can choose the one that's right for you, and best of all, you can earn Qantas points on all eligible purchases. For more details and to join, visit qantasgolfclub.com. There are many reasons to consider New Zealand for your next golf trip. Diverse courses, within a short distance of one another, there's plenty of activities to keep non-playing companions happy and opportunities to create your own mix of excitement and relaxation. But consider this, golf tourism is still in its infancy here, so there's a very good chance you'll have one of these wonderful courses almost entirely to yourself. Now that's what we call the perfect golfing getaway.